Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fumbling Gurus, a podcast that covers the NFL. And now, your hosts, Tom, John, and Gannon.
Welcome back, everyone. We okay. Did anyone else there? I didn't even know they were calling it Super Wildcard Weekend. That's new, right?
When did it
it's
become
not been a
super?
thing.
Yeah.
They add an extra team, so it's super, super duper,
I think even
super
Romo
duper.
was making fun of it in the game he was calling. I think it was one of the Sunday games or something. But
Tony Romo is the biggest Bills fan I've ever heard in my life.
I think everyone's getting on the Bills bandwagon. I don't know if that's
Tag.
All right. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't much news this week. I mean, we could jump into speculations. There was Tom Brady with his, spoiler alert, with his loss this week. What's he gonna do the at the end of this season, beginning of next season? Um, there's some talk about Lamar Jackson and whether he's gonna re-sign or go somewhere else. Um, Talked of Aaron Rodgers. Then he said this week he's not really saying which way he wants to go yet, retire or not. Um, and then there's talks of I at least heard one of the talking heads talking about how apparently Aaron Rodgers has been the problem in Green Bay the whole time, as if everyone didn't already know that was probably the case. Um, they're giving praise to McCarthy as well, which I'm not sure he really deserves praise quite yet. Not after the showing they had this weekend. Um, was there any news you guys wanted to hit on before we jump into the games? So I think it's probably going to be the meat of what we talked about this week is just going over the games. There was some good games this week, so there's lots to talk about.
Sacrificial lambs are already occurring. You've got the Chargers axing off two of their assistants,
Hmm.
coaches, and of course the Bucks seem to be pointing the directions that their coordinator is Gonzo and keeping the head coaches around.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that headline today of what's next for Leftwich, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I don't think he's a problem, but like you're saying, I guess we're just gonna find who we can put the blame on and stick it there.
I mean, two of the 3 years they were top five offenses. This year they're not. Bruce Arians left this year.
Yeah,
Who's to blame? I don't know, but we can get into that a little later, or even during the off season if we need to.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, we can speculate on some of the stuff, but I don't think we're gonna hear more about all of these news stories and things developing as the weeks go on. Um, so I guess we'll jump into some of the games. We'll start off with the first game of the weekend, which was Seahawks 49ers. I think this was maybe the most. I mean, not. I think Bills Dolphins was technically the most lopsided from a point differential standpoint. But Seahawks 49ers, I think, was the one up there before we heard about Tua of the one that everyone kind of picked 49ers to win this game. Um, the only I missed the first half of this, but at halftime I caught up. Seahawks were winning heading into halftime. 49ers were struggling a little bit to get things going. Then, of course, second half, Brock Purdy came to life again. Now everyone's singing his praises again for the second half. Um, and they pretty much ran away with it. So, and from my standpoint, we expected this outcome. I didn't really see anything crazy about the game. It was kind of exactly what we thought after all was said and done. But a little slow start from the 49ers. Um, Gannon, if you want to jump into anything you saw in that game or any outcomes that kind of surprised you.
Well, uh, that was I think it was in the fourth. There was four straight or three straight penalties, and then I want to say like a pick or a fumble. Um, but man, like first half, completely different team than the second half. So I don't know what they were doing in that locker room before they came back out, but looked like a completely different team. And unfortunately, uh, Seahawks, they just they could have done it, but they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I was at halftime. I was like, oh, this could be a good game to watch. But yeah, they just couldn't keep it going in that second half. John, what do you think the 49ers figured out in the second half?
They're better. They're better. If eventually, look, college football does this all the time, right? A good team comes out, they have a slow start, and then the horses run and they just out talent the opposing team.
Hmm.
Seattle was a fun story. Geno Smith set the records. Kenneth Walker, good rookie season. Is he an offensive rookie of the year guy? Metcalf, Lockett, they had good seasons. But let's face it, the defense was not that great. The offense was up and down. In San Francisco, okay, yeah, Brock Purdy's playing pretty well. Christian McCaffrey, healthy and showing that why he was paid a whole lot of money in Carolina. You've got Debo Samuel, who's showing that he's a very good, if not elite level receiver. He's physical, he's strong. Brandon Ayuk had a good game. George Kittle. They're just better. And talking about the top defense in the league, I mean, Seattle played well. Detroit Lions would have been more fun.
How wide open those receivers are in San Francisco. That was
It's a,
insane.
it's a good system. And also, Seattle, news break, doesn't have a good defense.
Yeah,
News
I
break,
mean,
breaking news, whatever.
yeah, I don't think anyone expected Seattle to keep out. No one expected them to come out and to continue pace in the playoffs. And like you said, I think it showed it played out how everyone was predicting. Um, but most of the other games didn't play out in that same manner.
I think I want to say, remember, I mentioned last week the stat 13-13,
Hmm.
the third division game. I think that played a role in that first half. These teams know each other really, really well. Pete Carroll and Shanahan, they've played each other in a lot of games. They know each other, which means they know the tendencies.
Hmm.
And I think that showed. I think that's why it was a 17-16 at half. And then the better players took over.
Yeah, just outlasted them, like you said. Yeah. Well, going into second game of Saturday, um, John, I know it was very exciting. You stayed up for the entire game, right? And you made it through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the way this game started to the way this game ended. I mean, first off, you have the opening line, and you've got my two favorite analysts in the entire world. That's Mike Florio and Chris Sims, and they both picked the Jaguars. Now, fun story, fun fact, or whatever. My brother is in Vegas, so I texted him. I said, "Hey, take your down payment of your house, do whatever you need to do, sell everything, put it on the Chargers. This is a guaranteed win. Those analysts don't know what they're talking about." 5 turnovers in the first half, 27 nothing. Boom. I don't even need to say anything more. Chargers dominated that game.
How? Yeah, I don't. I still don't understand that. I don't know if I've ever seen a game start that way, and you remain. I mean, it was sort of competitive at halftime. They weren't getting blown out, but you were like 5 turnovers in a game, and you still have a chance. I I don't know if I've ever seen that.
I got concerned for the Chargers because my dad, so my dad was over my house, and he left at like right before halftime, and it was 27 nothing. I got a little nervous for the Chargers when they allowed Jacksonville to go down the field and score a touchdown right before half.
Hmm. That's always bad news. Yeah.
Always bad news. And let's face it, the Chargers are kind of known to do something, right? We use the verb chargered for a reason, and you don't want to you just don't want to give any sort of life and hope to the opposing team.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of it too is when you're winning in that fashion, you're getting turnovers, you're stifling the other team, you're up 27 to nothing. You kind of go into a mode of like, let me just not lose this game. You stop being, you stop doing your risky plays. You stop trying to win. You're just trying not to lose. And that's basically what it seemed like to me is they got in that mode and they couldn't get out of it. And then Jaguars just kept pounding into them and able to pull out the victory. Dan, what are your thoughts on that game? Do you see it the same way we see it starting out and how it ended?
You would have left at halftime, I would have understood. Like at that point, right? Like nobody would have predicted that kind of a comeback. But, at halftime, Dougie P, in there chanting away, getting his inner Eagles going, comes back, wins. It's in the history books, man.
Yeah.
Round 2. Jags. Who would have expected?
Yeah,
I think what so I think what was fascinating about that game was you kind of saw it starting to unravel, and it unraveled quickly. Now, I'll give you guys, our audience here, a full disclosure. I fell asleep. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter. I missed the very end of the game. But I was fighting sleep because all of a sudden the Chargers got themselves in that role. And like you said, it's funny. I look, we're all athletes here. I know Tom, you're an athlete. Gannon, I think you played stuff, right? So we all know when you're playing a really good team and it's a close game, you are amped up. You're playing at a high level. But when you get a big lead, sometimes you throttle back a little bit. It's hard to stay focused playing at such a high level the entire time, especially when you're blowing teams out. And that's what the Chargers did. I think they just lost focus and then they just couldn't get it back. There's an old adage, and I'm not saying they did this in the second half, but I'm gonna say it anyways. You mentioned it. Gannon, have you ever heard prevent defense prevents wins?
I've not.
Well, it's a saying, and it goes prevent defense prevents wins because when you drop back in a shell and you're not playing aggressive, you're just allowing the other team to take full control. And that's in essence what happened. I mean, the Chargers chargered and the Jaguars got their groove. They got their swag. The Swagwires are back.
I thought for sure there was a couple of calls from the refs. And I was like, I guarantee these calls are going to cost the Jaguars a win. Because there was there was a pass interference on one of the 2-point conversions that didn't get called, and they ended up missing the 2-point conversion, which would have had them winning the game before having to kick that last field goal or whatever. There was a couple things that I was like, this. I swear, if this is what makes the Jaguars lose, I'm gonna be so pissed. That I think there was 2 main calls that just didn't get called, and luckily that ended up not being a major factor. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like some of the calls on Saturday. They were talking a little bit about, well, it's the playoffs. We want to let them play. We want to not impact the game. Okay, I'm here for that. But you haven't been doing that all season, so why is it changing now? And I think this was the game that I really saw it in, where the players weren't realizing that. They were playing like normal regular season playing, and they're like, no one was calling anything. They're like, what's going on? And then yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the change in that, the how they're making those play calls and stuff, but I don't know. We'll get into a little bit more when we get into the Bucks, because I felt like that went the complete other spectrum when the Bucks were playing. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of how they approached the refereeing for this weekend.
Agreed. And that's all I'm gonna say.
I was setting you up there, and you're not taking the bait today, huh?
I can't take it because here's the thing. I can sit there and complain for 7 straight weeks about how the officiating in the NFL has been absolutely atrocious. Just absolutely atrocious. And I don't know what it is or why it is that way, but it is so bad. And they've got to fix it. They've got to fix it. I mean, they're not going to, but they have to. It's going to start costing games. It's going to start costing them money. It's going to get bad. It's only going to get worse. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about it all. When we get to the Bucks, I'm going to bring out a stat that was mind blowing when it occurred when I saw it. And it's infuriating because it's getting to the point where I'm seeing more and more people saying this is WWE, this is just scripted. And now that there's more money than changing hands than ever before, gambling is a part of this. And yet we have officials that are just absolutely making it nearly impossible for certain teams to win games. And I'm not just talking one team in specific because I don't need to. Because you saw it in the Jags game, you saw it in the Bucks game, you saw it in the Dolphins game. And it's infuriating.
Well, I think that's one thing, right? I mean, I draw a lot of parallels to soccer. And I think that's one thing that I'm kind of surprised at. And I think what makes football not a huge world sport quite yet, and the fact that there isn't any organization that oversees the rules and regulations of the NFL. The NFL oversees that themselves. In soccer, there's FIFA and other organizations that are quote unquote third parties and make the rules for the game. And then if you have a ref officiating, it's a FIFA ref. It's not a, Premier League ref or an MLS ref. A lot of times it's FIFA certified. So I don't know. We're getting into but they need to change it, right? Because there's no consistency. It depends. Like, I get there are certain, even in soccer, there are certain refs that let things play and don't let things play, but there needs to be consistency, at least game to game or within the same game, and there isn't. There just isn't across the board.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I don't like bringing up the past, but Brady probably wouldn't have one of those rings from Tampa. I'm pretty sure it was the Chiefs Tampa Bay game, and man, I'm pretty sure that John got kicked out of his parents' house for that one, and he remembers that all too fondly. And that was the most rigged game I've ever seen in a Super Bowl, of all things. Like, just one-sided. But
Yeah.
I mean,
It's every team. Yeah, every team's impacted.
In the Buccaneers Dallas game, I'm going ahead and I'm shooting the shot here. We're on the refs. I'm going to talk about it. The NFL. This is from Warren Sharp. Or this is at Sharp Football. Sharp Football. This is Warren Sharp, a good analyst guy. If you guys look for someone to follow on Twitter, he tweeted out before the game started, the NFL picked Greg Rolstad as tonight's ref. The Dallas Cowboys are 8-0 with him refereeing since 2016. No ref in rotation has been better for the Cowboys than Rolstad. That should not be a thing. Period. There shouldn't be. Guys should not be looking at the referees and seeing how many face mask penalties do they call, how many holding penalties do they call. Do they call more on the home team than the away team? But that is legitimate facts that are coming out before the games with these officials. That's bad.
Yeah, and I think one of the main turning points of the Bucks game was we had gone the first. I mean, let's be fair. The first quarter was pretty bad from both teams. No one could get anything going, and the one time Cowboys got like one first down, and they were trying to get a little bit of momentum, and then I believe it was a third down, and they get sacked as they're gonna have to punt it away at this point. And oh well, the guy fell on Dak. That's a roughing the passer. Oh, that's a free first down. Let's just keep this drive rolling. And of course, that's the drive they roll down and get the touchdown. And it's like that. that's what I hate because that gives them continued momentum that they wouldn't have had. If it was a second down, okay, call roughing the pass or whatever. But it's third down, you get sacked, and all of a sudden you magically now have a new first down to just let you keep rolling. And it's like
How about
there should be some. I don't know. I don't know how to fix it, but that's what's so frustrating as a fan that we stopped them. The drive's over, and you just arbitrarily. Is it a foul? Is it not a foul? I don't know. You could ask 5 people and get 5 different answers. But this is going to keep them going on their path, and this leads to a touchdown they wouldn't have had otherwise.
how about the Giants Vikings game? The last minute of the game drive for the season, and the Vikings on a third down get sacked on a beautiful play by a defensive tackle, and they call roughing the passer, which was 15 yards at first down and extending and continuing giving the Vikings life. They shouldn't have had it. Now, I was rooting for the Vikings, so like I was okay with it, but like it was a terrible call. I mean, these are season-altering calls.
Yeah.
But I could sit here and talk for another hour on the officials right now because it was a weekend. That's what I'm gonna say. It was a weekend. You gave me the bait and I took it. All right.
I had to dangle a little bit longer than I thought I had to, but it got there eventually. All right.
That last little bit. That last little bit of the Miami game, though. I'm like, oh my gosh, they could stop them. They could stop them right here, and then, oh, they got the first down. I'm like, no, they did not. No, they did not get that first down. You can clearly see it. They replayed it like 50 times. Everybody saw it, and yet they didn't have enough evidence to overturn the decision.
That to me the most questionable part was the ref clearly walked out behind the line and then somehow it got moved like half a yard ahead and it's all of a sudden a first down.
Yeah. I'm not saying
there were 3 calls in that game that were mind-blowing. I was laughing at that moment. Well, I wasn't laughing. That's not accurate at all. You had a play in the game where a defensive tackle on an interception is blocking Josh Allen. They're going at it a little bit. Plays over, and all of a sudden a Bills offensive lineman slams into Christian Wilkins and just lays him out after the whistle. And our defensive tackle got flagged. The only thing I can think of is that he hit the ground too hard. I have no idea. That should have been 15 for the Bills instead, offsetting penalty. I was ready to fight the refs. # DeMar.
Yeah, let's just jump into the game. We'll jump into Miami against Bills, but I agree on that play that he was even being nice to Allen because he blocked him a little bit. He's like, hey bro, I'm just playing the game here. And then he turned around and he just shielded him. And he's like, just don't get involved and you don't have to mess with me. And Allen's like, no, bro, let's go. And so he's like, apparently it was Wilkinson. And he's like, yeah, okay, let's push each other back and forth. Let's do this. And then at the end of the play, he gets decked by someone. And all of a sudden it's a flag on both sides. It's like, no. Miami was playing football. And the Bills came in and decided that they wanted to get some extracurricular stuff.
Bills are a dirty team.
But you're going to flag both sides? No, that's a cop-out. You just don't want to make a call, therefore you're just going to flag both sides. Like, come on, man.
Yes. I don't even remember the second play, or the last play I was going to talk about now, because I was just... There were several instances in that game.
Yeah.
But I want to take you through... because you guys know me, and you guys, yes, have heard me talk. I can get a little spiritual, good word, about this Miami Dolphins team. When it started, all I wanted was them to not lose 62-7. That was it. Just don't get blown out. And it jumps out to a 17-0 lead like that, and I was planting tomato seeds because I was trying to stay calm. I was like, this game's over before it ever started. Skylar Thompson ain't gonna do anything. Raheem Mostert's out. Half the defense is out. Like just don't get embarrassed. And the Dolphins found a little bit of life, and they got going. And I know that I was getting some messages saying, "I'd love to be a fly on your wall." How about them Fins? They're battling. They're tough, and I got excited. I thought Miami was going to have a new winning quarterback since Jay Fiedler 2000. I got excited, and it was the roller coaster of emotion. Tony Romo says, oh, "All right, well here comes, here comes the high-powered offense," and immediately followed was a fumble sack recovered for a touchdown. Miami, boom, it's on. I'm pumped. I'm amped. And then Miami loses. On a 4th and 1, they can't get the call in time. They take a delay a game, and the rookie shows. It was defeating.
There was multiple, like, that had to be so frustrating for Mike Daniels of, like, you just can't get to the line and get the play start. There was 3 or 4 instances of that happening.
It was all game.
Yeah.
And it's been all season.
Yeah.
This isn't a one-time off instance. It's been all year. And it really, really showed this game, and it hurt, and it was defeating. I mean, I was so frustrated at the officials. I was frustrated at Miami. I was frustrated at Waddle dropping the pass. I was frustrated at Thompson not hitting the open receiver.
I'd say that probably, to me, was maybe the most frustrating part, that they hit on it so much, the commentators, but Waddle had 2 pretty much any other day of the week, any other game of the season, he was making those catches, and he was dropping them. There was like a 40-yard pass to start the game. That, granted, it was good defense, like they were right on top of him, but he still should have caught it. There was like a 40-yard pass in the beginning of the game. Tyreek Hill dropped like a 15-yard pass that he probably would have ran another 30 yards with.
Gesicki had a touchdown that went in between his fingertips.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't have placed it better, and he just missed it.
Yeah, I think Waddle didn't even have a catch till the 4th quarter. Something like that. So, yeah, I think, man, I don't know. The Dolphins had every chance to win the game. I think everyone was rooting for him to take down the Bills.
I don't think so. I think most people were rooting for the Bills. Hashtag Damar.
Well, maybe.
I'll give you this, and I've said it later in the season. Healthy Miami, they're moving on. Healthy Miami, they're moving on. They were super banged up. So, I mean, like, as much of a fight as you got out of them, can you really complain?
Here's the problem, and I'm going to talk about this in the offseason more. Can you count on injured players to not get hurt? Terrence Armstead, our left tackle, he has missed 3 to 5 games every single year he's played except 1 year. Tua Tagovailoa, he hasn't been able to stay healthy even in college. Tyreek Hill and Waddle have both dealt with lower leg injuries. Xavier Howard has dealt with groin injuries and leg injuries. Can you count on guys who, Raheem Mostert, I mean, he had that 49ers cut him or released him or didn't sign him because of his health concerns. Like, can you count on these guys to be healthy? Yeah, when they're healthy, they're dominant. But they're not. They don't, their history says they're not. It was frustrating. That's it for being such I was expecting a blowout, and Miami gave me something that I didn't expect, and it was almost worse.
Yeah, they gave you hope. How far were you thinking ahead? Because, like, I was starting to think, I was like, man, if they beat Buffalo, and then they get Tua back, what does this look like? How far ahead were you?
That's exactly where I was at one point. I thought Miami, when Josh Allen was missing targets. He was starting to become inaccurate. Josh Allen that we're used to seeing.
Hmm.
Miami was getting ready to kind of take control. I at that moment, I said, man, there's a good chance we get Tua back next week.
Uh,
We're gonna have Tyreek in Kansas City. I was excited. I was pumped. I was looking ahead. And
Man,
unfortunately, it was all for naught.
hmm.
the ref should have rigged it the other way.
I mean, they probably beat Kansas City 53 to like 6. I mean, total domination.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. Well,
That's enough about Miami.
I was just say, I think we beat this one to the ground, so we can move on. I think the game after that was the Giants and Vikings, which was a good game. I think the thing I took away from this the most was, I think this is something you mentioned, John, was Jones is, he's not a playoff quarterback. He's not gonna whatever. He came out and surprised a lot of people. He played well. He had a good game.
I will say that I picked the Vikings because of Jefferson, and I picked the Vikings because of Dalvin Cook, not because of Kirk Cousins. I just want to be clear with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and we've talked about this a lot since the game. That decision at the very end of the game, you throw like a 3 yard pass on a fourth down, and you need like 8 yards, and it's like, why, what? I don't know.
That's the Kirk Cousins special, my guy. That's what he does. You need 5 yards, he'll throw it 3. You need 8 yards, he throws it 3. You need 2 yards, he throws it -1. It's what he does.
I mean,
What?
I don't know if we can argue that. I mean, that does seem to be his specialty.
I saw a video of somebody said, I'm jumping out ahead of this. Kirk Cousins had a really good game. Don't take that one play. It's like, no. It doesn't matter what he did the rest of the game. That's the game. 4th and 8. Team down. Gotta move the ball. And you throw a 3-yard pass to a covered player? No. If nothing else, you chuck it deep and pray for a PI. Give Jefferson a chance.
I don't know. I mean, I think watching the game, Vikings couldn't get much going. They just, I think, what was it? It was a tight end from Detroit, Hawkinson. He was like their lead star this game. It was, I wasn't expecting that, and I wasn't expecting them to shut down Jefferson as much as they did. But yeah, I think this was maybe the least exciting game of the weekend for me. Outside of maybe Cowboys Buccaneers, but they weren't over the weekend, so it doesn't count.
All I got to say is finally they lose. They've been pulling it off all season long, and Kirkland brand Kirk Cousins pulls it out. He just he didn't pull it out. He pulled out of the playoffs. Yeah. I don't know why I said that.
The
But
Vikings have lost one game all year by one score, or within a one-score game. I think they were 11-0 or 12-0 until this game,
11.
and this is their one loss.
Yep.
Great job, Kirk. Great job. I like the Kirkland brand. That's good.
The
That's
one
good.
that matters. Yep.
yeah, well, Giants are scrappy, so if they're gonna lose to any team, I'm laughing that it's the Giants.
So John, they have to go 15-2 to get your respect. Where in the playoffs do they have to get to? Can they win you over in the playoffs?
I'm going to say it right now. If the Giants win next week, If the Giants win next week, I will apologize to their fan base. I will be a Giant supporter, and I will talk up how great of a quarterback and coach that they truly are, that this is a legit team. However, if they get blown out next week, I stand by everything I have said, and they just happen to face the frauds that are the Vikings.
I told you so, bitch. I told you so.
Because I didn't believe in the Vikings either.
All right.
So they still haven't proven anything. They've beaten a team I don't trust.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll see what happens. All right. So this game was surprising to me. The end of Sunday was the Ravens and the Bengals. It came down. So the Ravens, Huntley was, I mean, I get they have Lamar Jackson, and Huntley is a pretty good, budget Lamar Jackson. He plays very similarly. I feel like he's a pretty good fit for a lot of it. And he played really well. I think he surprised a lot of people. Bengals came out a little flat. They weren't, I don't know, they weren't ready for him. And everything looked like the Ravens were going to keep the foot on the pedal and just cruise through this game. And then, I don't know where this call came from. I don't know whether they gave Huntley just a QB sneak and he decided to go over top. But they were like 2 yards out, and he tried to reach over and get in the touchdown. And he was like a yard and a half short. And then they run 98 yards the other way with I guess it's an interception, a fumble recovery. I don't know. It never touched the ground. But they just scoop it up and run the other way. No one can catch them. And that's the game. That play was the game.
Yep.
When I saw that, I think I just sat there staring at it for like 5 minutes. Like I didn't know why. I still can't answer questions about it. But that lost them the game.
That play cemented the comparison that I have tried to make for now 2 years in a row. Joe Burrow is Tom Brady. 209 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and a fluke defensive touchdown. And Burrow's the greatest quarterback to ever step on a football field. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, it was not a pretty game for the Bengals. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not much to say about the offense. They got enough going to keep them in the game, and the defense cemented it when they needed to. That was pretty much it. Even after that, the Bengals couldn't run down the clock. They couldn't keep the ball in possession. They just gave it right back, and just thankfully Huntley was a little maybe deflated from that moment, or the momentum was gone, and they couldn't come back from it.
The luckiest quarterback on the football field got the win.
Sometimes it's how it rolls.
That reach though, man. I can't. You watch it. It's like you weren't even close. Somebody could have blew on the ball and it would have fumbled out of your hands. Like it just.
He tried to do too much. He was trying to win the game. I give the guy credit for effort. The problem is if he stays low and follows his blockers, he scores. So bad read on his end. Great play by the Bengals defensive tackle, or I think it was a tackle. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Great job, Bengals defense. You're the MVP. Don't let that Burrow guy get it.
Yeah, I think in my head the comparison was the night before, Jacksonville had a reach over that no one was expecting, but they were within like a foot of the touchdown. And also, I don't think Huntley's 6'6", but they have they have Lawrence, who is 6'6" and has like friggin' 4-foot arm span, gets over the touchdown. I think it was for a touchdown. So I was like, that was like their winning store. So I think everyone was remembering that play, them reaching out, and then Huntley tries to do the same thing. It's like complete opposite of it.
Huntley is 6'1".
Yeah, yeah. So he's missing 5 inches or a good half foot.
Do we do phrasing anymore?
No.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it for the weekend. Yeah, that's it. We're all done. Nothing else. You guys want to go to divisional playoffs?
Well, I think we do need to talk about history being made. That's all we need to talk about.
Okay, all right.
A little bit of history. As far as I'm concerned, I've never seen a game where 5 extra points in a row were not converted. You saw 4 missed extra point kicks by one of the most accurate kickers in the NFL, and then the Bucks go for 2 and they don't get it. I mean, what? All right, that's it. Let's move on.
I think everyone at that point, like when he missed 3, you're like, oh, okay, haha, this is kind of funny. He's missed 3 in a row. And he missed 4, and you're like, I mean, come on, man. Come on. Like, I could probably make 1 out of 4. Like, I don't know. And it was like the worst miss, too. His 4th one kind of like touched the very top of the pole, and it's like, nope. It's like as close as you can get to making it, but without making it.
Maybe the balls didn't have enough air in them, so when he kicked them, they didn't go where he wanted them.
There's no proof of that. There's 0 proof.
Right. Hey, Gannon, I know that you're a big Dallas fan. At what point were you expecting Dallas to Dallas?
When the Bucks got that ball back after that onside kick, I was like, is there enough time for Dallas to Dallas? I'm like, Dak could throw picks. They could probably tie this up and go into OT, which would be perfect. It would be classic Dallas. But ultimately, Dak had a good game. You got to praise the Cowboys a little bit. They played well. Brady didn't. So, I don't know. Like, it was good. It was good for the Cowboys.
When they went into halftime, and they hadn't made an extra point yet, and they were only up 18 points. I was like, they're going to do it, aren't they? Like, they're going to leave this opening for the freaking Buccaneers, who can't get their crap together, to come in and win this game in the second half. And I was like, I can't believe we're about to pull this off. But Dallas kept it going. I was like, they had set themselves up, though, by missing those 3 extra points. I was like, you know this is going to be the headline tomorrow. If Dallas loses, that they can't get their playoff games, they just can't win, and there's always something that goes wrong. But they lucked out. They pulled it out. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about that, but if I had to ship one of these 2 teams to the 49ers, I would ship the Cowboys over what I seen by the Bucks there. So
we couldn't get. There is nothing we could do right. Like I couldn't even point to, outside of like the final 17 minutes or so. We started playing Buccaneer football or good football, whatever you want to call it. But up until that point, there was multiple throws that like Brady threw it right and Evans was like 10 yards to the left. Like he just turned and ran the wrong way. And it was like, it was the same thing. It was like, this looks like the first game of the season where no one understands what the play was supposed to be. So it wasn't even like, this wasn't a playoff team. This was nowhere near a playoff team.
This was a team with a losing record facing a team with a winning record, and it showed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It was the embarrassment I didn't want that game to be. But you knew it was coming. I think we all knew it was coming.
And it wasn't a big enough embarrassment to fire the coach.
I'm not touching that one. All right, moving on. Next week, who wants to kick us off? Who wants to pick a game? Should we John, should we start with the Eagles or should we end with the Eagles?
And with the Eagles. And with the Eagles, for sure. 100%.
All right. Well, we'll start. Well, okay. This is an interesting one. So we got the game that was canceled. We have a rematch. Bills Bengals, and into this weekend. I mean, I think they're all good games, but I'm looking forward to this game maybe a little bit more than the others. I think it's a test for Burrow, like you're saying. He keeps kind of. This was their playoff story last season, where Burrow wasn't really playing great, but they kept finding ways to win. They kept moving down the playoff schedule, and I think the Bills. I mean, clearly, right? They're looking to take home a Super Bowl. Josh Allen's kind of like, they have the team for it. They have the skill, the talent. They have everything. They just, for some reason, can't make it to the Super Bowl to get a chance. Do you think they pull it out this year, John? Do they make it past this game into the championship game?
I don't believe the Bills are as good as they are perceived to be. I think Miami exposed them a little bit last week. With that being said, I do believe that the NFL wants to see the Bills in the Super Bowl. And I do believe that while they may not be giving any directive, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying it's WWE quite yet. However, I do believe that the officials and the NFL all know that they would like to see the storyline that's been built.
Mm-hmm.
And being the fact that it was the Bengals, I believe that if it is a close game, expect there to be a very, very weak call that either seals the game or leads to a victory for Buffalo. So if Cincinnati wants to win this game, they gotta play lights out.
Fair enough. Gannon, do you hold the same opinion?
I'd say so. I mean, we didn't see much of it the last time they faced off, but wasn't Cincy up like touchdown or two? I don't know. I think that Cincy has enough to go into Buffalo and win. Um, like John said, they kind of got exposed by Miami, and perfect time to watch film. And I think that Cincy has what it takes to pull that off.
Yeah, I'm not sure who I pick in this one. I'm kind of with you, John. I don't think they're quite the team everyone thinks they are. But I'm also not sold on Cincinnati being a complete team either. I guess if I had to go with who I would like to see, I don't know. I like the Joe Burrow storyline a little better. But I also feel bad that Josh Allen can't quite make it to Josh Allen's one of those guys that you just see trying so hard every single week, and you're just like, oh, it's so, I don't know.
So sad.
It's
It's
so
so sad when he loses. It's
Exactly.
so sad when he gets eliminated from the playoffs. It's so sad seeing those Bills fans cry. It's so sad. You know what?
How many
The Bills
tables have they
deserve
had to
it.
destroy, man? Come on.
4 straight Super Bowl losses. Let's continue that. The fandom having misery. I love it. I love it. Keep going. You know what? Them winning would make me ill. I think the fans deserve to be ill. You can't spell Bills without ill. Let's go, Cincy.
I think too. The other thing is someone on this podcast also said since he was going to regress, so I kind of want to see them make it back to the Super Bowl. So maybe that's what I'll pick. That's my new stance. I want Cincy to win just because of that statement.
That guy sounds really smart, though. He sounds real smart. It may not have happened this year, but he sounds smart.
Eventually they'll regress. Like one of these years.
Did anybody expect them to get as lucky as they did? I mean, that's just they probably should have been eliminated last week.
Maybe.
Lamar Jackson
I'm a
plays
real-
that game, they win.
Uh, all right. Dan, I'll let you take this one off for us. We have 49ers against the Cowboys. I feel like a lot of people are rooting for the Cowboys to upset, but then a lot of people also are trying to count on the 49ers to keep some of that momentum rolling. How do you feel heading into this game?
Do we have a doctor? Because Dallas is gonna choke, and they're gonna need resuscitation. Um, like against the Buccaneers, they looked real good. But when they have to face teams that are good or games that count, Dak just crumbles. I I'm picking the 49ers by a lot. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think that 49ers are a superior team all around. I think that the defense is too much for them. I know Micah Parsons is there. It's pretty solid, but I don't think that they're going to have trouble with him. So
All right.
that's my prediction. Choke artists. It's
I'm,
Dallas, man.
I think the thing I'm worried about most is the the young quarterback coming in against Parsons, against Diggs, against that Cowboys defense. I don't know. I don't know if Purdy's up for the task of going against the Cowboys defense. If they can give him protection and give him time and make the play calls easy on them to get some momentum and get things going, maybe. But I don't know. It's going to be a tough task, I think, to call on a rookie quarterback to be making plays against that defense. Um, but I think I'm going to go with the 49ers as well, just because I don't want to see the Cowboys keep. But there's too many Cowboys fans that I know that are going to keep gloating if they keep winning. So,
Listen, they're going to keep those receivers wide open, and Brock Purdy's just going to throw rocks at them in for touchdowns, and Dallas isn't going to do a damn thing about it.
well, let's hope so. I'm with you. John's itching to get into this conversation. He's been like twitching in his chair for the last 30 seconds.
This is the year of the young quarterback.
Oh, okay.
This is the year of the young quarterback. And Dak Prescott is the old man left in the playoffs at 29 years old. He's almost 30. According to my sister, he's a year from death. So you look at it, and I'm sorry, but Dallas is going to Dallas like Dallas has never Dallased before. I'm right there with Gannon. I expect this game to be over by halftime. It's going to be brutal. And 49ers Super Bowl pick will continue.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm on the same page of it being a blowout, but it's dangerous when we all pick the same team. So,
but Dallas is going to Dallas like Dallas has never Dallas before.
Yeah, it's Dallas in the playoffs. You cannot bet money on it. You can't.
The Chargers Charger and Dallas Dallases. Like, that's the rule.
I'll pay money just to watch Jerry Jones the entire game. That's the most hilarious thing when they cut to him in the. Did you guys see his face when they missed like the fourth extra point?
Somebody needs medical nearby for him when they lose, because I don't think that he can take it.
Oh man. All right, this is a game maybe I'm most excited about. Although, I mean, I think everyone's picking a kind of blowout win for this one too. But it's the Jags and the Chiefs. I want them to keep going. It's like the Cinderella. It's like Cincinnati last year. I don't know. I feel there's not the same like air around them as Cincinnati last year. I feel like they need some more bandwagoning. But the Jags haven't quite got the fan base behind them that Cincy got last year, being the Cinderella story. But I want them to keep going. I think if they win this game, everyone's going to be behind the Jags. Um, I don't know if they have a chance. I mean, I think they do. I want them to, but it's also the freaking Chiefs and Mahomes and Kelsey and everyone else. I don't know. It's going to be a tall task. John, do you think they stand any chance of winning this game?
I'm going to give you a bold prediction here.
Uh-oh.
The winner of this game wins the Super Bowl.
Okay. I could see that. I could see it.
With that said, I do believe Kansas City wins this game. However, if the Swagwires are able to pull it off, if Trevor Lawrence can summon his Clemsonness in this thing, if Travis Etienne can get going and run, and if those receivers can continue to get open on that porous KC defense, and they can win, Jaguars will win the Super Bowl. If I was a betting man, I pick the Chiefs to cover. It's an 8.5 point spread, and I believe they win by 10.
Yeah, I don't. I think it is a long shot, right? I think that Kansas City's built to win this game. They've been here before. They keep going here every single year. They have the experience. Jaguars are barely scooting by. Yeah, I still have to root for them though. I still have to.
I just said
I'm gonna keep
this is
I'm gonna keep my reverse psychology though. So I'll pick the Chiefs, but that's only because I can't pick the Jaguars or they won't win.
I want to be clear. This is the year of the young quarterback. Okay? 27 may have been the oldest AFC quarterback this year in the playoffs. However, 27 is a baby compared to 29, and therefore Mahomes is still going to win this game.
Gannon, you have to be on the side of the Jags, right?
Listen, if you need a savior, you got Dougie P, the man, the coach who went in there and got Tom Brady out of there, won the Lombardi. He's the man going into Jacksonville, brings them all the way to this point against Kansas City. Looks good, doesn't it? Looks real familiar. Underdog team against a juggernaut.
This can't be the end.
Can't be the end. That's why I'm going Jacksonville. I don't care if it's 1 point, 3 points, 20 points. Jacksonville.
All right. See, I knew I liked you.
Hey, when we come back and Jacksonville wins, let me just say, okay, I had more faith in the Jags than you did, Tom.
It's reverse psychology, man.
I know you keep saying this.
I can't
You
pick
keep
them.
saying this. You keep saying this. But, like, you gotta pick them. Just go in. Commit. Man. I hope they pull off that upset. That would be hilarious.
I don't even know what I don't know what the NFL world would do if the Jags beat the Chiefs. All right, now I got you riled up. I'll let you go off. We have a division game for the divisional round. Eagles Giants. Where do you see this landing?
So the first time Eagles played the Giants, it was 48-22. I see this being yet another blowout. You got a healthy Eagles team. Jalen Hurts is no Kirk Cousins. The defense is not the Vikings defense. This is a legit defense, number 1 in sacks in the regular season. I don't think that uh Daniel Jones, I almost said Mac Jones, I had to double check his name. That's how much confidence I have in that team. Uh I just don't see him getting past the Eagles at home. The link is hard to play in, so like that's all I really gotta say, man. That's all I really gotta say. NFC Championship game.
I always get a little worried when I see a team that has a bye week and the other team has to fight through and kind of get some momentum from the previous week. You got to think the Giants are feeling pretty good coming off that win. And they're going to come in with hyped up, ready to go. And that's just always been my thing is, man, the Eagles have just been sitting there. Like, yeah, they've been practicing, but they haven't been hyped up. They haven't been ready to go. And I don't know. I still think the Eagles are the better team. I don't think the Giants, if you're going to pick the two together on a random weekend, I'm not picking the Giants to win. But the playoffs are a different beast. I don't know.
I will say this. I think that you look at the Eagles team as a whole, you look at the Vikings team as a whole. I mean, almost every position, I say almost, is better, right? I don't see the Giants going into Philadelphia and pulling off an upset. But I'm also biased. So anything could happen. But you know what? You know what? I could just gloat because my team's still in the playoffs and I get to watch my team play still. And next week as well. So you guys just it's fine. It's fine.
All right, all right. I'd say I picked the Eagles too. I think it's a closer game though. I don't think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be within a touchdown, a one-score game. But I think the Eagles pull it out and run the clock out and end up winning. But I think it'll be a tough game. I think it'll be back and forth. But yeah, I think the Eagles are the better team, and it'll show in the end. John, we saved you for last. What are your thoughts?
During this year, teams that have played a third game were 13-13, the higher seed. Last week, the higher seed went 3-0. I'm looking at the numbers.
Time for some regression. That your favorite word?
It is time for the New York Giants to step up and to be big and to be powerful and to ride that Saquon Barkley ride and pull off one of the largest upsets this year. I believe that the Giants will make me apologize to their fan base. And with all of that being said, I have the Eagles winning this pretty easily.
I was kind of worried.
I don't think the Giants have enough in them. They're scrappy. They play well. They're tough. But I don't believe in them. I don't believe in the Vikings. I didn't believe in the Vikings. I don't believe in the Giants now. If they can beat this team, I will apologize. And I think they got a chance. But it's a low chance. It's going to take Daniel Jones playing, well, not like Daniel Jones. Saquon's going to have to be a monster. Shepard is going to not need to drop that pass. Can Kenny Galladay catch another touchdown pass? These are the questions that need to be answered. And that's the only way the Giants win this thing.
I will give you this. If the Giants win, I will apologize to you two personally for what I do on the Discord on a daily. Because I swear, I am toxic when it comes to the Eagles being this far up. It feels so good. And I want you guys to experience it, but you're just not there. And it feels lonely up at the top.
Well, I had my year last year. It's your year this year. Maybe John, maybe next year you guys have it. We'll see.
I'm rooting for
Back
you, but
playoffs? What?
Yeah.
What that? I don't know if I can handle that.
he has to watch VHS tape on playoffs.
I mean, it was 6 years before, and then I think it was another like 6 years. It was Ronnie Brown was the running back for Miami the last time they made the playoffs from the last time. So like, I don't know if I can handle back to back.
What would you do with a week off, John? Like, do you just get to sit and watch the other teams knowing you're going to be playing next week?
If Miami had the 1 seed and we get a week off, I don't know.
Oh man.
This would probably be more.
All right. Well, I think that rounds out this week of upcoming games. I mean, I think outside of maybe Cowboys 49ers, I'm excited about every other game this weekend. I think it'll be a good weekend. I think there's some good games going on. A lot of games that we can't really predict. There's going to be some close games. I mean, that's what playoffs are for. I'm excited about it. Any last words, John, heading into the divisional week?
How the Chargers kept their coach is beyond me. That dude would have been fired immediately. I think he's one of the worst coaches in the NFL. But congratulations, you made it one more year.
Clearly, he pointed out what the problem was, right? Yeah.
And I want to reiterate real quick. I've said this, I know to you guys, I don't know if I said it on the podcast. The best profession of all time, fired head coach. That's my dream job. Any NFL owners, you listening? You need a fired head coach? I'm your guy.
I'll keep an eye out on Indeed and I'll let you know. Caleb, any last words for this week?
You know, I've been chuckling because John's over here saying swag wars, and that was last year.
All right. Does that round it out? Anything else I missed this week? Anything else you guys want to hit on?
I'm good.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in, heading into divisional week. Some exciting games, some good games last week. Based on what we saw last week, I'm looking forward to this week. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. We had a couple chatters this week. I appreciate you guys tuning in and giving us your views on everything. We'll be back next week to discuss the results and who we're going to be seeing in the conference games. So appreciate everyone joining in, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Fly goes fly.